Greetings, everyone. Craig Hester here with R2AWatches.com, and thank you for joining us as we continue on our journey through all the watches and accessories that are available at R2AWatches.com. Before I dive into the new brand that we're going to be talking about today, or at least new to us at R2AWatches.com, it's actually a brand that's been around since the 1940s, but it is new to us. I want to let you know that if you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure and hit like and subscribe. And if you want to ring that bell, you'll get the early notifications when we post a new video. If you are watching this on Facebook, you want to join the closed group Vostok Europe Timepieces, or VET. Do not let the name fool you. Just because it's called Vostok Europe Timepieces does not mean that the only thing we discuss there is Vostok Europe. We talk about all the watches that are available at R2AWatches.com, including the new brand that we're discussing today, which is Mondia of Italy. If you're not familiar with Mondia of Italy, it is a brand that you want to become familiar with because they make some really cool watches. And we are very excited to bring them on board to the family of brands at R2AWatches.com. Now, this is actually the first video we've ever done where we're going to go a deep dive into the watches themselves. But if you check out our YouTube channel, R2A Watches YouTube channel, you'll find an interview with the folks from Mondia that when we were there actually last November of 2019. You can check out an interview there with the folks from Mondia and find out more about the brand. Although I'm going to cover most of the information there that we talked about there in today's overview. We are talking about the Bolida, or Bolida, it's Bolida, I believe. As with most of the brands that we deal with, I do not speak my mother tongue is not the language of the brands themselves, Russian or Lithuanian, or in that case, Italian. But Bolida is how I believe it's pronounced. That actually means fireball. It's actually named after a particular meteor. So that is the actual name of the collection that we're talking about here. And there are 3 styles in that collection. Before I get a little bit further into the brand, I'll quickly tell you the 3 styles. We have the sport collection. That's here where it has the perlage on the what's the word I'm looking for? On the bezel. You'd think I would be able to pull that word out real easily. It has the perlage on the bezel. Then we have the vintage, which actually has the coin edge bezel, and then the really cool skull version, which it's kind of hard to get it to pop, but I think you can see it there. There's a really cool skull on the dial. Some people actually comment that it looks a little bit like Darth Vader's helmet. I guess it all depends on what you're looking for there. But I like the skull look on that one. That is actually, for us already, the most popular model of the 3. Mondia, which loosely translated to world, is an Italian brand. It's been around since the 1940s. It is a family-owned company. The Sordi company owns Mondia brand. They make some really interesting watches. I've actually looked at them while I'm talking about this. I'm just going to move through some of the colors and styles here as I pick them up and put them down. And I'll talk a little bit more about who Mondia are and what the watches are about. I've been looking at their brand for many years. That they've always displayed at Basel. And if you're not familiar, Basel, the Basel Watch Fair, well, up until just recently, it was the largest watch fair in the world, and I'd been there 12 or 13 times. It's changed dramatically in recent history, and obviously in coronavirus world or COVID world, we didn't have Basel this year, so I didn't get a chance to meet with them again. But anyway, the last Basel that we went to, it just so happened that Mondia was 1 or 2 booths over from Vostok Europe. And we got the chance to sit down and speak with them. And we decided in that meeting that we thought that Mondia would be a good fit for R2A Watches and for our distribution company, the Detente Watch Group. And we are excited to finally get a full collection in of Mondia. We had a few pieces in the past, but we didn't really dive in deep until just recently. And that's when we brought in basically everything that they offer in the Bolida Collection, or Bolida Collection. And again, if I mispronounced that multiple times throughout this video, I apologize, but you get the idea. So I'm going to quickly do some other things about the brand. They do hand assemble every watch in Italy. I was at the facility. Those of you who've been following me for years, you know it is important to us to actually visit the manufacturers that we do business with. We've been to Vostok Europe many times. We've visited Sturmansky. Back when Moscow Classic was still around, we visited Moscow Classic. we go and visit. I've been to meet with Secolia in the Republic of Georgia. We visit our manufacturers because I like to see what they're actually doing on the ground. And I was very pleased with the quality of the facility that Mondia has in a lot of ways. And I don't like to compare brands. And let me be very clear, Mondia is a very different brand than Vostok Europe. You could just tell by what you're looking at here. Obviously, Vostok Europe has never done a bullhead, and this is a bullhead watch. That means that the pushers are on the top of the watch. This is a completely different style, look, feel, everything that you can imagine in relation to Vostok Europe. That said, there are some things that are quite similar. They have their own in-house designers. They do, like Vostok Europe does, they start with a blank piece of paper, or like I like to say, they start with a blank computer screen, and they finish with a completed watch. So they actually do a lot of the same kind of things that you like in Vostok Europe, because of the fact that so much of the process is actually handled in-house by the brand. So that's enough of the. I'm going to quickly now go through the watch a little bit more, and then I'll pepper in some more information about the brand. But again, Mondia, loosely translated world. They actually have two lines. This is from their Italy line, and then they have a Swiss-made line as well, which we will be carrying some of the Swiss line as well. Their slogan is 2 worlds, 1 word, or 1 word, 2 worlds. That's their how they bring it to market in terms of the fact that they have a Swiss-made component and then they have the Italian-made component. So this is again, I'm kicking myself in the butt because I hate how I terribly mispronounce words in other languages, but the Bolida, or the Bolida Collection. Again, that means fireball. And as I mentioned earlier, there are 3 styles in this. This is the Sport Collection that I'm looking at here. It comes with a bracelet option. It's the only one that has a bracelet option. And then I'm actually wearing on my wrist, and you can see how it looks on the wrist, the Italian leather option. Now, this is a 45 millimeter case on this, so it is not a big watch. However, because of the fact that it is a bullhead and it has the top pushers, it wears a little bigger than a 45 millimeter typically does. So if you are into big watches, you're probably not going to be disappointed in this because of the way it's built. It is a fairly thick watch. I really, really like the way, if you look at the profile of the case. I love the slant that they did on the case, and you can see that this is interesting. The strap actually is on a different plane on the lower strap than it is on the upper strap, and that's just not something you normally see. So that makes for an interesting look. I love how the pushers look like, oh God, Abe, what are they called on the car? The piston. The pushers look like piston heads. Abe's much more of a wrench jockey, much more of a car guy than I am, even though I do love cars. Although you'd think that most guys would know that that's what a piston head looks like anyway. So it looks like the piston heads. One of the things I do love about the Sport is that perlage on the bezel is just fabulous. I mean, it is such a fantastic perlage. That is not something you typically see, especially in this price point. These are extremely affordable watches, particularly for the amount of design and thought that went into putting them together. So that's the Sport. Here's the vintage. You can obviously tell why they call this the vintage model. It has much more of a vintage look. This does have the vented Italian, the vented Vince Italian leather strap on it. And then I hate to point out I like this collection a lot. I really do like the skull one just because, hey, that's cool and different. And the fact that the skull is a quite subtle thing. There's also a green version of the skull, which is already sold out before we started doing this video. So I couldn't show that one to you today. This is, again, I'm going to go ahead and double check the size like I like to do. But again, it's a 45 millimeter case. I'm on the inside there. That's why it's, yep. Right on, too. 45 millimeter case. It's a bullhead. This has the OS21 Miyota movement, so it's a bulletproof Miyota quartz movement in this. So you've got the full function chronograph. You've got your top pushers to activate the chronograph, start, stop, and then it's got a quick reset on it, actually, or quicker than most quartz chronographs do. All of them are in the vertical lineup in terms of the bicomplex. The 2 eyes are in a vertical lineup. The Sport Collection if you pick up one of these, man, you could spend an hour just studying this dial. It is a multi-layered dial with multiple different decorations on there. Half the dial being carved out below the bicomplex subdials. It really makes for a great look. And I love the numerals they picked. There's just something about them. They're just a perfect fit for a watch that is a racing-inspired sport watch. They really do have that hint of the old sport racing cars in terms of the numbers that you would see on the dash. Like I said, the sport collection does come with a bracelet option, and then it also comes with the Italian leather. The vintage has several different colors. There's this silver tone, which really pops as a vintage. And then they've got your more traditional black, or really a deep charcoal gray. Then over here are my personal favorites among these collections is the blue, which they have with the black PVD and with the stainless. And then one I actually have in my personal collection, if anybody cares, is this deep forest green that they have in the vintage collection with the black PVD, although I believe the one in my personal collection is with the stainless case, not with the black PVD case. So again, Mondia out of Italy. It's a new brand for us. We're just picking them up. Right now, we have this collection plus one other model on the website. We will be adding more from the Mondia Italy collection and probably from the Mondia Swiss collection as well. These are hand assembled. It's a little town called Voghera, and again, I'm probably mispronouncing it, which is about an hour outside of Milan. Again, I was there last November, a beautiful little Italian village. The people that work for Mondia were just the nicest people. They made me feel so, they were so warm and welcoming. Oh, I really do also like, especially on the sport, the way the case, how they have the cutouts on the side of the case. They just did a lot of really interesting casework on this watch. Let me see. Well, eventually I'll get that to actually... Come on. There we go. What they did on the casework here is just tremendous. I mean, it is such a fascinating case. And again, I really do like the piston pushers on there a lot. So anyway, they were great people. Really enjoyed spending time with them, getting to know them a little bit. And I feel like they make a just a really fun watch. It's an interesting watch. It's something different. They'll even tell you the whole idea behind the Italy collection, the Swiss collection is more of your traditional look and feel with most of the watches, where the Italy collection, they'll even tell you they're just having fun and they want you to have fun. These are intended to be fun watches that anybody can wear that are going to get, but still are going to get attention on the wrist, which we know is important to the people who, to our customers. You definitely, part of why you buy a watch is you want somebody to notice it on the wrist. So again, I'm going to quickly just show you again, you've got the vintage collection with the coin edge bezel. You have the sport collection, which is obviously racing inspired, with that fantastic perlage, which comes with the bracelet option or the Italian leather option. And then the skull collection, which obviously you can tell by the name and the fact that it has this etched skull on the dial. Great colors, great look, interesting, something that you're just going to be really glad you added to your collection. So there it is. That's Mondia of Italy, now a part of the R2A Watches family. And until next time, keep watching.